given the need to do this, is low. Mental health was always something that we had said was a huge contributing factor that needed to be addressed. And yet we're only talking out of 2,000 at the time, 100, which is about a 5%. How do you balance thinking I thought greater to understanding that low as perhaps 100 in out of 2,000?
Thank you, Councilwoman. Good question. So again, as I mentioned, we tried to be very conservative on need when we looked at these numbers. And as I mentioned, it was only a 6-month data set that we had because it was the data right when Metro had taken over the jail when we first started this project. And so we had some of this other criteria first available. At that time, we looked at severe mental illness, so that there were some severe mental illness and addiction, that there were some restrictions around the mental illness itself that were looked at. At that time of the approximately 2,100 inmates in the jail, it was over 700 people that would fit into either co-occurring of severe mental illness, addiction, or co-occurring. And again, that's individuals that were coded that way. So there obviously might be other individuals, but individuals coded that way. From there, when taking out, being very conservative, taking out any type of violent charge or past history. And again, some of those questions will come when we work with the prosecutor's office on what would be allowable criteria to go into the center. The lowest of the low was the 150 individuals per day. I don't think any of us don't think that there definitely won't be a need and that number could be higher. But we had to start somewhere that was manageable in the beds within this operation. And so that was the 150 beds per day.
If I may follow up, hope you can understand me.
All
So
right.
we're building a facility for 150 beds, and we're not sure if that 150 is going to increase. How can we accept more than that if we're not building for more than that? I mean, we are basing our facility beds on the 2,000 inmates of 100, or perhaps if we keep our population down to 1,000 to maybe 50 to 75. How are you going to balance the increase if in fact those numbers are too low?
So I think that's a good question. Again, having all of these services under one roof, this is a very large operation, as well as a cost. So we wanted to make sure and start with a number that would be work and very useful, but not too large. So within the RFP, we did say initially 150 beds up to that amount for the operation. It's noted in the RFP, as I mentioned before, though, that the success of this program and offering up to not just pre-arrest, but post-arrest or other individuals in the future could be an option. So that was stated in the RFP, but the minimum requirements to get started right now was for the up to 150 beds.
Okay, thank you, Councilwoman Baker. We do have a lot of items, just to remind the members. This is an ongoing discussion, a very, very important discussion. Lots of council members are quite focused and interested in this diversion center. I'm going to go to Councilman Miller because he asked, so just be mindful of the fact that we have quite a few things on the calendar today. And we obviously are only beginning to have this discussion that we really haven't had in quite some time. So Councilman Miller.
Mr. President, quick question and a comment. The question is, in the request for proposals, when we get the responses back, are we going to select one proposal as is, or is it a deal where we choose a preferred vendor and then we negotiate with them over the details?
Sure. So as I mentioned, there's multiple entities that responded to the RFI, and that's the same expectation I have for the RFP. So It will likely be the entire proposal that's put in front of us. We might have some negotiation, but it will be with those providers that they're offering or that they responded with there.
Okay, and the quick comment is that making the 150 number manageable and sufficient is gonna depend on you getting people in and out of the diversion center and on to other places where they can get help. We would expect that they would not be in the diversion center nearly as long as they would have been in the jail if they would have gone to jail.
You're absolutely correct. As I mentioned, you know, the length of stay, and I also went to other diversion centers throughout the U.S. They vary 7 days, some quick services up to a long stay is 90 days. Then they may go to some other place for recovery services on their own. But you're absolutely right. That stay is still often much less than a jail stay, sir.
That's all I have, Mr. President. Thanks.
President,
Yes,
I've been able to confirm that we can release the list of the names of.
Okay, could
part of the
you-
RFI.
could you get that out to the council members?
I'll do it right after this meeting,
To our
sir. Yep.
staff. All right. And are there any questions at this time by any other members of council on this subject?
Yes, Chairman Brady, I just had one clarification I need Brandy to do for me.
Yes, ma'am.
Is that okay? All right, through the president to Brandy, in your slide presentation, I'm looking it over. It says prosecutor's office, allowable criteria for an individual to be diverted. Policy for those who do not complete the program. Who is the prosecutor's office responsible for making that policy?
So yes, he is. That would be Prosecutor O'Malley in his office.
Okay, has that been worked on, completed yet?
So we've started, the chief of staff has had preliminary conversations with him. He's very supportive. He's been engaged with this process even when we had the consultants. He was at all the meetings, him and his chief of staff. But that is starting now. Those conversations are starting now with him.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Councilwoman. Okay, well, if there is no one else, then thank you, Brandy, and we will move on to the next item. Thanks a lot.
Thank you, council.
Good job.
Item 5 is referred to committee. This is a item regarding Metro Health. Clerk, do you need to read this item?
Yes, Mr. President.
Okay.
Resolution number 2020-0087, authorizing a loan in the amount not to exceed $12,890,904 to the Metro Health System for the provision of services to county employees covered under the Metro Health Services Group Healthcare Benefits Plan.
Okay, I understand that the law director will lead this discussion, and we also have someone here, I'm assured, from Metro Health.
Okay, thank you, Mr. President. I'm going to go ahead and start off with a little bit of the background here, the request that Metro made to the administration, then try and explain how we've structured it, how we think it'll work. Then I'm going to have to walk you through the part of it that didn't work, and why there's a substitute resolution in front of you. Jean, do you need to have them vote on the substitute first, or does that matter?
I think that it probably should be under discussion first. It's a little different than the regular meeting. So discussion can be first and then voting on the proposed substitute.
Okay, thank you. So back in March of this year, Metro approached the administration about doing what's an advance on the payments that the county would otherwise make to Metro for the health insurance services that they would provide to the county employees. They requested the advance because with the COVID crisis, there's a significant drop off in the number of people who were going into their facility for services. So they just weren't being paid the way they normally would for services under the plan because people were told that they needed to stay home. So they basically came to us, or came to the administration and said, could we advance pay them the same amount that we would pay over the next, I think it's 4 to 6 months. And then after this crisis has subsided, we would do a reconciliation, if you will, look at how much we should have actually paid because of the number of visits the county employees had made. And then whatever was the difference in that number, Metro would pay back to the county over a period of 12 months. So that's kind of the goal we're working toward here. And the way we've structured it is I initially tried to do this as a loan. That was a misunderstanding on my part. Metro can't do a loan. So it's basically an agreement that would, an advance pay agreement that says we'll give them the $12 million sometime within the next 30 days or so if this is approved. And then again, after a 4 to 6 month period, we'll figure out how much the county should have paid for the employees that receive services, and whatever that difference is, Metro would then pay back to the county over a period of a year or so. So if that is enough on that point, I want to walk you through a little bit what's going on with the resolution because of the way we have to do this if it's going to get done.
Excuse me, Mr. Huth, I just wanted to mention to the council members that particular proposed substitute was contained in your agenda packet for this meeting. That's
Okay.
it.
Okay, thank you. So as I said, I originally thought we could do this as a loan, but there's a provision in the ORC that basically says Metro can only have one loan, and they've already got one of those. So we had to take a step back. I had to take a step back and just restructure this as an advance payment agreement with the repayment requirement written into it. Now this, however, is being treated as an amendment to the current health plan that we have with Metro. So that's why this resolution is actually doing two things. I think, as you know, we come in, the administration comes in annually and does an amendment to the plan to both extend the time for the plan, in some cases add money to the plan, and also to tweak the percentage, the cost sharing percentage in the plan. So since the current plan agreement between the county and Metro expired at the end of 2019, we have to do that piece first, which is amending the plan to extend it through 2020. And in this case, we're not putting any more cash into it. They're only tweaking the percentages. So this resolution first authorizes that same annual amendment that we come into for every year. And then this also authorizes the advance pay agreement that I described a moment ago. That's why there's so much blacklining in the substitute, is we had to not only change it from the loan to an advance pay agreement, but at the same time build in the other authorization to amend the existing plan document. I've got Pat here in case there are any questions about the plan amendment that we do every year, because HR understands that far better than I do. And then if there are any questions about the advance pay agreement, I can answer some of them, but we've got both Jane Platten and Sonia Radke here from Metro to answer any questions there.
Questions by the committee at this point?
Council President Brady, it's Chantel Brown.
Councilwoman?
Thank you. I wanted to ask or confirm with the law department, does the county have enough resources in on our health benefits fund to advance this payment?
Mr. President, Councilwoman, yes, there's enough money in the self-insurance fund. Yes, the health benefit self-insurance fund. Yes.
Do we know that figure?
I believe it's around 40 million, but I'll have to check.
Okay. Thank
you.
Other questions at this point?
Mr. President.
Councilman.
Okay, thank you, Mr. President. Question to Mr. Huth. These funds, is there any possibility of using CARES Act money for these funds since it's COVID related?
Yeah. Mr. Chairman, the councilman, we did kick that around a bit here, but this is all actually, in the end, it's all going to be money that the county would have already budgeted.
Okay.
For healthcare, so that disqualifies under the CARES Act.
Okay, appreciate it. Thank you.
And also, since we're getting it paid back from Metro anyway, what we didn't spend, that would.
Understood. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilman. Any other questions at this point?
Mr. President,
Councilman Miller?
could someone give a brief summary of what the changes are to the healthcare plan amendment itself, as opposed to the prepayment agreement?
Councilman, Mr. Council President, Councilman Pat Smock on behalf of Human Resources. As Mr. Huth alluded to, this is an annual agreement that we bring forth. We bring it forth rather tardy every year. Unfortunately, we're planning to address that this year, actually moving forward after this potentially is considered. This is the shared savings agreement that we have with the Metro Health System. And so this is shared savings based on the calculations for 2019. We bring forth in 2020. The only adjustments to that is there is one attachment that contains the mathematical calculation that we use, that the county uses and Metro Health partners with them to use to calculate the shared savings, the amount of savings that Metro Health was allowed to extend to the county per member per month. And so there's a slight adjustment to the calculation. But as far as services to the employees or offerings to the employees, there's no change in that regard.
Okay, thanks.
You're welcome, sir. Thank you.
Mr. President, quick question.
Yes, Councilman.
Thank you, Mr. President. To Mr. Huth, how long do we have to, does the county have to reconcile the funds at the end of the year? How quickly does that have to be done? Did that come through or no?
It did.
We heard you. Mr. Huth?
I'm sorry, I was muted.
Oh.
It's based on.
Do you want me to repeat that?
No, yes.
No, I heard you. I'm sorry.
Okay.
You hear me now?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. There's a period after the emergency is declared over, I believe, by the state, and then I think it's about 60 days where we do that reconciliation. And then after the reconciliation, they'll start paying it back over the next 12 months.
Okay, and we won't have any problem meeting any deadlines or anything like that.
No, I don't think so. I think we gave ourselves enough time to make it work. Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Further questions? Hearing none at this time.
The council-
Sorry,
there's something-
If I may, Mr. President, I was on mute.
Yes,
I'm sorry.
Councilwoman Baker.
Thank you. I just want to be clear. I know is there going to be a substitute that takes the word loan out or not?
Yes, there
Yes.
is.
There is.
Okay, there is. Thank
It's
you.
got a lot of black lining on it, so you'll know it right away when you see it.
Okay. Sorry, I didn't hear that. Thank you.
Okay, I'd like to move that we accept the proposed substitute. Could I have a
Second.
second?
Second.
Thank you, Councilwoman. Any discussion on the proposed substitute? All those in favor of accepting the proposed substitute, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed, the ayes have it. If it's appropriate, we would like to refer this item to the full council agenda for consideration for second reading adoption under suspension of rules. I will make that motion.
Second.
Been seconded by Councilman Miller. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed?
Aye.
The ayes have it. This item will be on today's regular council agenda, pending this committee's recommendation. This has been discussed for quite some time, and so I hope it doesn't seem abrupt to members. And if there are any further questions about this, we'd be glad to entertain them.
Absolutely.
All right, hearing none, thank you very much, Mr. Law Director.
Certainly.
Okay, next we have an executive session. And as always, all meetings of the Cuyahoga County Council are open to the public under the Ohio open meeting laws. Under that law, council may go into executive session during a meeting for authorized purposes. During executive session, council confers outside of the hearing of the public. Council may not make any decisions about any matters in executive session. All decisions are made in public. This afternoon, the council will go into executive session to discuss collective bargaining matters. During this time, the council members will go off screen and return once the executive session has ended. Is there a motion to go into executive session for the purpose of discussing collective bargaining matters?
So move.
So move. Second?
Moved and seconded. Clerk, would you please call the roll?
Moving to executive session, Ms. Brown,
Yes.
Ms. Stevens,
Yes.
Ms. Simon,
Yes.
Ms. Baker,
Yes.
Mr. Miller,
Yes.
Mr. Tuma,
Yes.
Mr. Gallagher,
Yes.
Mr. Schron,
Yes.
Ms. Conwell,
Yes.
Mr. Jones,
Yes.
Council President Brady.
Yes.
Motion carries. Mr.
the
President,
ayes
if I
have it.
may, there may be a little bit where the host for the meeting will transfer each person who's invited to executive session. So if everyone would just be patient with that and you'll be moved over.
All right, thank you.
Hey, Jack, it's Janine. Did you get the notification to join the breakout room? Okay.
Cheryl, did you get the notification?
Which notification?
It should have popped up so you would enter the breakout room.
I just ran to the bathroom. Hold on a second. That's why I darkened. I just decided you didn't want to see that. County Council is currently in executive session, yes.
Okay.
We're good?
I still hear you, so. Can you resend it?
I don't know. I'm trying.
Okay. Also, Ryan Johnson, R. Johnson 4, I believe is part of that. Oh, no, I take it back. No, they're
Oh,
not.
yeah, I was gonna say that wasn't on the list before.
I apologize.
Okay.
I'm back.
Okay, Cheryl, can you, because they have you already in there.
Can she leave it and then go back in?
We can try that. Because the only option I get is to put her in a waiting room. Hey, Cheryl, are you still there?
Yeah, I'm still here.
Okay, can you leave the meeting and come back in? Then we could try to assign
So
you.
I want to completely close out?
Yeah, and then rejoin.
Not with the newest link, with the older link, because the new link was sent out for the next meeting.
Hey, Cheryl, are you still there?
Yeah, I'm still here.
Okay, can you leave the meeting and come back in? Does someone have YouTube up?
Yeah, sorry. Were we successful?
Okay. Hi, Cheryl, I see you. Okay, I'm gonna assign you to the room and then you should receive a notification.
Okay, Cheryl said she's there now, or Joe said Cheryl's there now. Okay, you got it. All right. Mr. Johnson, your part of the meeting is over at this point. You've been sent another link for the 2 o'clock regular council meeting.
Hey, Gene,
Yes,
this is Boyle. Hey, did you get, and I stepped out, did Cheryl got in?
yes. we're
Good
all
deal.
set.
All right.
Hey, Gene, we're back.
Are we all back?
Not yet.
Right.
Are we all back now?
Yep, it looks like everyone is back.
Okay, we're reconvening the council meeting and we're now back on the record. Is there any miscellaneous business for the council of the whole? Hearing none, the council of the whole is adjourned. We will begin the regular council meeting at 2 p.m.
Mr. President, if I may, everyone will have to leave this meeting. Ashley sent a new link for the next meeting, so you'll have to link onto that.
Okay,
Thank you. See you in a minute.
all right.